Peace, family. How's everyone doing out there? I just wanted to tap in and do a quick live. How I normally do on this Saturday, mornings. I ain't gonna be on here too long. I just wanted to tap in with the family. I got a lot of things I want to talk about. You know what I mean? I don't know how many people I'm gonna get in here right off the bat, but as for me, this Saturday morning, it's the sun is shining. I'm gonna probably get out here, to get into the gym. I want to get to the gym in a little while, and I want to also do a little bit of light work on my car, probably put a battery in. I think I need a battery in my car, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna probably take care of that. So what is the family doing out there? What's the family getting into for the weekend? You know what I mean? What's the plans for the weekend? I don't got too much going on. Probably just, like I said, go to the gym, put this battery in my car, and I got a lot of, came up with a lot of crazy stories to talk about and touch on with the family. And this particular story that we're going to get into right off the bat, it comes from my area of York, PA. You know what I mean? And this came to me on the fly from a friend, actually. There was an active shooter situation at the UPMC hospital in York, PA, just a little bit ago. I think it happened yesterday or something of that nature. And, this is all alleged, but there was a active shooter there. But they keeping it pretty tight-lipped as far as the shooting that happened at UPMC hospital. The authorities ain't putting out too much. They keeping it very tight-lipped, trying to keep it down. Maybe for the time being until they sort through all of the logistics of what took place and happened. But they say according to WGAL, the shooter has been neutralized. So they took the shooter down, but I got this off of somebody's page in the area, a person from the area. They say, and this is all alleged too, so I got to put that out there. Disclaimer. They say 3 cops have been dead, 3 cops dead, 1 nurse dead, 1 doctor dead, 3 nurses injured, and 5 in hostages. Okay, so that's what I guess happened. And, that's crazy right there. You know what I mean? In all actuality, unless you know just how close things can hit the home. Because like I said, this happened in my particular area of York, PA. And if y'all remember the family, when I was just, hospitalized for my asthma, breathing problems, like a week or so ago, I was actually at UPMC hospital. So unless you know just how, crazy things could go from 0 to 100 real quick. That's why I always tell the family to be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. Now, I was just at this hospital, UPMC. Some crazy, gunmen come through there, clapping it up, but they, keeping it tight-lipped, like I said. So, all of that's alleged. But allegedly, 3 cops dead, 1 nurse dead, 1 doctor, 3 nurses injured, and 5 hostages. And that's, that's insane. And, I ain't got no black person doing this, in all actuality, is most likely one of them pink folks, because them pink folks get down bad on their luck. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. They get down bad on their luck, or something happens in their life. They can't face no hardship and setbacks. As soon as they face a hardship and setbacks, they ready to crumble, at the drop of a dime, ready to lay it all on the line, go out. You know what I mean? And this just ain't something we as black folks do. We used to adversity, bouncing back. We used to, most of the times, unfortunately, getting the short end of the stick. And these pink folks just ain't used to it. So I got this being, one of them pink folks doing this, But, RIP to everyone involved. Now, when more updates come out on this story, I'll be keeping the family abreast with what's going on, I'll put more on light on it, you know what I mean, once more of the story becomes available. But that's certainly, a crazy story, active shooter, 3 cops dead, 1 nurse, 1 doctor, and 3 nurses injured, 5 hostages. So, my condolences goes out to everyone who lost their life, but the shooter has been neutralized, they say. So they got him up out of there, but as more of the logistics, the intricacies of the story come available, I'm going to put it out here on my channel, but they keeping it very tight-lipped right now, family. Let me get a swig of water real quick. Throat mad dry. How's all of the family doing out there? And if you're new to my channel, for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe. You know what I mean? Because I'm always dropping pre-recorded videos, and I try to go live like every Saturday morning. Now, what else did I want to get to? I want to talk about these immigrants, family, mainly these, Latinos and everyone else that's guilty of this, running around here trying to get foundational Black Americans to co-sign and endorse their struggles and fight. Meanwhile, so they can sit on their hands, twiddling their thumbs in the back, in the background. They want to have us, be the scapegoats and take all the blows of the impact of getting out here fighting for them. And I ain't with that, you know what I mean? Because for the longest, foundational Black Americans, we've tried to get everybody on, all together in unison, you know what I mean? And these people didn't want to play fair. They didn't want to play on the team with us, They stuck in their own little groups and enclaves, and now that we just looking out for lineage first, people want to cry foul, that we doing something wrong, this, that, and the other, when it's absolutely nothing wrong at all with looking out for lineage first, you know what I mean? And I don't rock with all these damn immigrant groups trying to get FBAs out here to co-sign and endorse them, running around here screaming about DEI, protesting DEI. When we as foundational Black Americans, we've suffered every hardship known to man in the US of A, including slavery, and we bounce back from it. Still, we rise. These other groups of people, they face a little hardship and sit back, and they, willing to crumble, because in all actuality, they crumble and fold because they ain't used to facing those systematic racism, white supremacy head on like we are. That's why they need us in all actuality, because we the ones that move the needle. We are effective in fighting white supremacy. We get things done, and we ain't playing nobody's advocate no more. We tried to play on the team, as minorities, people of color, and that just hasn't historically worked for the foundational Black Americans. So we looking out for lineage first, and these other groups of people got to hold their own nuts. You know what I mean? They got to handle their business, handle their candle. It ain't our job to, all these immigrants out here crying foul, deal with it, and then I'm also hearing this narrative, being put out there, well, if all of the immigrants is, gotten rid of, who's going to, grow crops, who's going to pick crops, and who's going to farm? Foundational Black Americans ain't afraid of no hard work, getting out there, getting some elbow grease on us. We could do all of that, but we just going to want to be paid for what we doing, paid the right amount. We ain't going to sit up here and, be undermined and undercut, so yeah, we'll do anything, as foundational Black Americans in terms of working. We ain't afraid of no hard work. So they can miss me with that narrative as well. And they can miss me, with trying to cry foul and give foundational Black Americans the co-sign they struggle. When, when we struggle and fight for our needs and issues, we look back and all that standing with us as foundational Black Americans. We haven't had an ally or a friend that's foundational Black Americans for the most part. We've been so totally on our own. And these other groups of people got to stand on their own and hold their own nuts, because DEI, none of that nonsense has historically benefited foundational Black Americans. It benefited all of these other minority groups, even white women, but we don't get nothing out of that. And if we do get something, it's a little residue of crumbs that falls out the potato chip bag. So they can miss me with crying and screaming, about us co-signing, endorsing their struggle. We got our own struggles, and we laser focused on, getting what we need now in terms of foundational Black American society, us getting our reparations, us getting our just due. And we looking out for people based upon, lineage first and foremost, that ain't saying that we wish other people to do bad or nothing like that. We wish them well, but we just, we ain't really worried about them too much. We wish they do all right, but, we got to be worried about our business and issues first and foremost. We got to keep that at the forefront of everything we do now, because historically we've been advocating for all these other groups. And then, we get the short end of the stick. They rush to the front of the line in terms of getting resources and aid, after we kick the door down, and then we push to the back of the line. Damn that. Them days is over. Foundational Black Americans is looking out, for our needs and interests first and foremost. And if other groups of people got a problem with that, they just going to have to be mad. You know what I mean? Be mad to be glad, so to speak. But what else did I want to touch on, family? Let me get a swig of water. I'm real dry right now. Mouth is real dry. Yeah, I don't know if any of the family seen, but RIP to Miss Valletta Wallace, Biggie mom, Notorious B.I.G. mom. She died at 78, I believe. She was in hospice out here, not hospice, but she was out here in a senior care facility out here in Pennsylvania somewhere. I forget the exact details of where she at, but yeah, Big's mom passed away. And I want to say, RIP to Miss Valletta Wallace. My condolences goes out to her friends and family. You know what I mean? Because, Big, held his mom in high regard. Miss Valletta Wallace, RIP. You know what I mean? And my condolences goes out to her friends and family. So I just wanted to, put the spotlight on her for a quick minute. But yeah, family, I seen an interesting story too. Out there in Chicago, where they had a brother by the name of, what was his name? Robert Johnson. He was wrongfully convicted for a murder, and this brother did 29 years in prison from the age of 16 to, I believe, the age he got out was 45 years old, and that's insane, you know. And this is why I say they got double standards, racialized standards in that so-called justice system, because when you black, you know, it's guilty until proven innocent. You know, 9 times out of 10, you never given your just due process. You know what I mean? We always get the short end of the stick. And I'm convinced, you know, they be knowing brothers and sisters is innocent, you know, but the name of the game is pick a Negro. You know what I mean? As long as they got a Negro, they'll settle with that. You know, we got somebody black, so that's good enough. You know, even if they could be guilty or not, you know, they ain't worried about that. In all actuality, they probably said, we got a black person, we'll settle for that. You know, we got one of them off the streets, you know what I mean? Just the system of racism, white supremacy at play, you know. And this brother finally got out, you know, after 45 years. So in all actuality, this brother missed his, you know, childhood, his teenage years. You know, he got out a middle-aged man. You know, how do you really compensate somebody, you know, after doing that amount of time in prison? You know, it really ain't, he needs compensated, but how do you put a number on that? You know, you made this man miss out over half of his life, you know what I mean? And you let him go. And you know, some compensation damn sure needs to take place, because I hate seeing that brothers and sisters unjustly locked up, you know what I mean, like that, you know, and brothers and sisters be innocent, you know, and I'm convinced they know they innocent, but the name of the game is pick a Negro, you know. As long as we got one of them, that's good. He could be guilty or innocent. We just need a black person off the streets, you know. That's the name of the game when it comes to these white supremacist systems that's in place, you know what I mean. But I got the audio and the video of our brother, what was his name, Robert Johnson, and we're gonna walk through it and talk about it how we normally do. But I see this far too often. I'll be tired of reporting on these kind of stories, because I see brothers and sisters being unjustly locked up left and right, and that really, you know, saddens me. It makes me mad to a certain degree. Here we go right here. We turn it down because I know I'm gonna get a commercial. Fair use, fair use.
30 years in prison, 30 years. Today was Robert Johnson's first day of freedom. We showed you his release from the Cook County Jail last night after his 1996 murder conviction was vacated. Our Megan Hickey joins me now. Megan, you were there for his first day of many firsts.
Right, Chris. So Robert Johnson has not been able to spend a day the way that he wants to since he was 16 years old. That's when
insane.
He was arrested for murder. He's always maintained that he had nothing to do with it. Now at 45.
And this brother said he was telling these people left and right that he had nothing to do with this murder, and they wouldn't even hear him out. It was like, you know, everything he was saying was falling on deaf ears. That's because they didn't give a damn. The system of racism, white supremacy, all they gave a damn about was, we got a Negro, you know, that he could be guilty or innocent. That's good enough in all actuality for us. But let's continue.
He has a lot of catching up to do.
I kept on telling them.
He kept on telling them he had nothing to do with it.
They didn't believe me.
You told me you haven't slept in a couple of days. Why is that?
It's just
seeing the system of racism, white supremacy. They expect all black people to be guilty or something, you know, and then if you ain't guilty or nothing, they be like, damn, you know, we got him off the streets, you know, he'll commit something in the long run. So in all actuality, we stop the crime from happening. Racist white supremacists, they can miss me with that.
My mind is racing so much. I haven't had a time. I haven't been able to settle down mentally.
Robert Johnson can't sleep because there's so much he wants to do. After being released last night after nearly 29 years of incarceration,
that's insane. 29 years? I couldn't imagine.
Hugging his 92-year-old grandmother was Dave & Buster's for dinner. He said he feels like
and he couldn't wait to see his 92-year-old grandmother. She held on. I seen another news segment with, you know, him and his grandma. His grandma was there from day one, you know, and she would always tell him, you know, like, I hope I'm there to see you, you know, the day you get out of jail, you know. And you know, he was like a little bit of emotional on this other video segment, you know, because he finally got to reunite with his grandma, you know, and she made it, you know what I mean? She held on, and he said he lost faith, you know what I mean, you know, in God, because his grandma, he was raised by his grandma, you know, kept him, you know, holding on to faith. You know, he was ready to give up. He said he was angry in there because he know he didn't commit the crime, as anyone would be, you know what I mean? But his grandma kept him, you know, holding on to faith, you know, and he accredited that to her, you know. So salute to his grandmom too. They didn't say the name of her, but salute to that our sister.
For dinner. He said he feels like he's been dropped on another planet. Okay. As his cousin showed him how to use a laptop computer, the first he's ever seen in his life.
Can you watch movies on here?
Yeah.
You hear that? The first laptop this brother ever seen in his life. When he was, on the streets in 1996, they didn't even have laptops and the kind of technology. So he's starting over like a child in all actuality to get acclimated back to society. You know what I mean? That's why some kind of compensation got to be enacted, because coming out there, you don't know, that much what's going on in society. This brother's going to have, a hard time ahead of him. They need to compensate this brother. But how do you put compensation on, all of them years, 29 years in prison? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. The last time then 16-year-old Johnson was free, police took him from his grandmother's house and arrested him in connection with the April 14th, 1996 murder of a man who was shot and killed in a robbery in his apartment on the South Side. There was no real evidence against him, just the testimony of a teenager who later recanted.
I mean, Robert's case is really stunning because it really starts to make you wonder, how did he ever get convicted?
After years of fighting to prove his innocence, his conviction was vacated this week. Next month, the state will determine whether they'll appeal Johnson's case, retry it, or dismiss it. But in the meantime, Johnson hopes he can inspire others.
That state better. The state, Cook County, I think that's up there in Chicago, Illinois. They better sit their asses down, leave this brother alone. They ain't got no case in all actuality. If they had a case, he would have still been sitting in jail. They ain't trying to let a brother out of jail. You know what I mean? And have to, atone for them being, guilty of locking up an innocent brother. So they better sit it down. You know what I mean? And stop that nonsense and leave this brother go on about his life and give him some compensation too while you at it, because you had him sitting in there 29 years. He missed out on his childhood, his teens, missing out on having a girlfriend, the things normal young men get to partake in. He never got to partake in.
Someone actually walk out of here, it let me know it can be done. You just got to be patient. But it was hope. It gave me hope.
And it was a very good sign that prosecutors didn't move to detain Johnson until his next hearing on March 13th. So his attorney is hopeful that this means the case will not be retried. They're just grateful for some freedom in the meantime, and we'll have much more on some of his firsts coming up at 6.
If you ask me, they ain't got no case. They need to go ahead and let that go, and the state needs to be, held accountable. They got to compensate this brother for all them years, taking him away from, his family, his life. He could have probably had kids. I'm assuming he ain't got no kids, wasn't able to have no kids because it didn't say nothing in that regard. So they just, caused our brother to do more than half of his life behind bars. And that's a bunch of nonsense, So good thing that brother got out, Salute to our brother. What was his name? Robert Johnson, for getting up out of there. Too bad he had to do all that time, though. That's the sad part. But yeah, here's what I wanted to talk about. The next story I came across. Our brother Robert Brooks, they got the actual white supremacist COs, that beat him. They're being tried for murder now. Now they didn't really say. I didn't get how much second degree, first degree, but they're trying them for murder. And I guess all of the other collaborators that were there that sat around cowardly, the nurses and people in general that were there in the vicinity, the other employees, they get some kind of charge, I guess, to a lesser degree put on them. But if you ask me, all of them damn white supremacist degenerates, because they are white supremacists, let's call it out for what it is. All of them need to be charged up, for sitting there complicit, beating on our brother. He had mental health issues. He was handcuffed. He couldn't even defend himself. You know what I mean? So that's cowardly in and of itself. You got a brother handcuffed, you beating him, kicking him, putting hands and feet on him. I seen one officer even put kick him in, like, had their leg up against his throat. Like a kick, like a kicking style with their leg up against his throat. I don't respect that. A bunch of coward white supremacists. So I got the audio and the video of that, and we're going to walk through it and talk about it how we normally do, family. But every one of them, white supremacists need to be, they all need charged with murder because they all was complicit in it. You know what I mean? And this is why we need that black hate crime bill put on the books, because this in all actuality was a black hate crime. You know what I mean? Because they wouldn't have done this if this was no damn white inmate, you know what I mean? They done it because he was black, if you ask me, and they always leave that off the table of why these white supremacists do what they do. They never want to say it was race-based, you know what I mean? Because when they leave that off the table, they get to change the narrative and things like that. You know what I mean? And it's very telling that also these white supremacist COs, they actually got to turn themselves in, family. You know, when they turn themselves in, I believe it was as of yesterday. So that goes back to the system of racism, white supremacy, of how they, you know, the system of racism, white supremacy looks out for and takes care of its own. You know what I mean? Because it's double standards. I say it all the time in the so-called justice system between white people and black people. You know what I mean? Because 9 times out of 10, we giving more lengthier jail terms and sentences, you know, and just like the case that we just talked about of our brother Robert Johnson, you know, he spent 29 years behind bars for a crime he didn't even do. You know, the whole damn system needs destroyed and rebuilt, if you ask me, and the new system needs enacted, one that's based off of justice and equality, you know, for all people, not just, you know, people from the dominant white society. But let me pull this up. Turn this down because I know a commercial gonna play. Fair use, fair use.
Christie is off tonight. Several corrections officers have been charged with murder related to the death of this man. Robert Brooks was an inmate at Marcy Correctional in December when he was severely beaten. All caught on camera.
I couldn't even watch this full video when I was watching it. I had to turn my head away because that had me so furious of what they were doing to that brother. He was handcuffed, his hands behind his back. Damn cowardice, white supremacists, you know what I mean? And then you got collaborators sitting around on their hands, you know, in all actuality, all them damn white supremacists need charged up with a crime. The case of Robert Brooks, Cordell, are you talking about, did that just happen? The case of our brother Robert Brooks? No, this been happened, but they just trying them now. You know, the officers were on the street all that time, and they were actually able to, the COs were actually able to turn themselves in from this, you know, heinous white supremacist hate crime. You know what I mean? And that tells a lot that they were able to turn themselves in and they weren't, you know, held accountable when it happened. They had the video of it. So, you know, why did the prosecutors and the people in question up there, you know, and I forget where it happened. I believe it was in New York, but don't hold me to that. Why did they sit on their hands and not prosecute? You know, this been happened a few months back. You know, they did our brother and took him up out of here, you know, beat him, you know, and he had mental health issues. So that showed the cowardice of white supremacy, you know, because white supremacy is a cowardice system. I say it all the time. They only attack when they got the odds and the numbers in their favor. You know, if it's a fair head up fade, you know, with a good amount of brothers there, then white supremacists going to turn and haul ass because they don't stand on no business. White supremacy is a cowardice system. It's flimsy.
Really beaten, all caught on camera. His son speaking out after these people were charged today.
I would never get my father back. The men have robbed me of that opportunity. Still, indictments are an important step towards accountability. These men murdered my father. It was on video. The whole world got to.
And it was on video, and his son is, you know, saying he's speaking that for real, you know, because it was on video. So why did the prosecutors and all the people that should have brought these white supremacist COs and collaborators, nurses, and them other employees that was seen on the video standing there, you know, why didn't they bring these people to justice? It goes back to that white supremacy thing. So he's right. They should have been brought to justice.
Waiting a month for these charges have been extremely hard. But these men need to be prosecuted and convicted of the crimes they made.
Yes, they do.
We have team coverage for you tonight with both News Channel 9's Kendra Brodus and Andrew Donovan, who were at the courtroom today. Let's start with News Channel 9's Andrew Donovan. Andrew, a tension-filled day, to say the least.
Well, Jeff, between years working in Utica and Syracuse areas, about 13 or so, I've never seen the high-profile stakes, it seems, of any court proceeding ever. The number of law enforcement here closing roads, the number of people trying to get in the courtroom, both family members and supporters of Robert Brooks, but also reporters from all across the Northeast trying to see what was happening. I've never seen anything like it. Ultimately, what happened was an indictment, several counts, 10 corrections officers' names in here, 6 of whom are now charged with murder, 5 of whom were in court.
So they just saying murder, first degree, second degree, third degree. They need to be held to first degree murder. They need to be charged with a black hate crime as well. You know, that's why we need that black hate crime put on the books as of yesterday. I'm gonna keep speaking that on my platform, because when we speak more things, it puts it into the public lexicon, and the more you speak something, the more you can bring that what you speak into existence.
They surrendered to New York State Police earlier today in time for this 2 p.m. arraignment on the charges. The 5 accused of murder for having the most to do with the beating death of Robert Brooks back in December in their jobs as correction officers at the Marcy Correctional Facility. Remember, the Onondaga County District Attorney.
Yeah, we need to know whether first degree, third degree, what type of degree of murder, you know what I mean? Because that, can play a huge part in, how this thing plays out.
He was called in as a special prosecutor for this case. He was in court today in Utica. Here's what he said just after those court proceedings.
Robert died of massive beating to his body, both externally and internally. Several of his interns.
You knew that the way they was beating on our brother with his hands cuffed behind his back like he was a damn punching bag. You know what I mean? If it was a fair fight, them cowardice COs wouldn't do that. In all actuality, not everyone that's a CO or police officer, but a lot of them, white boys and even you got black sellouts that become police officers. Not all the time, of course. There's of course there's always exceptions to the rules was the word I'm looking for. So, but this ain't every case, but in a lot of these cases when people become COs and cops, and they just you got the black sellouts and the white boys that go super hard, and showing their power, especially practicing white supremacy against black people. A lot of these damn dudes was picked on. They cowards in all actuality. They never got no women, they never had no respect in their life. So when they get some kind of respect, perceived respect, it ain't really genuine respect, because they just got respect because they wearing that badge. They let it go to their heads, because they ain't used to power and control, of anything. They ain't got no control over their own life. So when they can assert control over people, they go overboard, they go off the deep end. And I don't respect that, nor do I rock with it.
His body, both externally and internally. Several of his internal organs were bruised.
Damn.
His hyoid bone was fractured. His thyroid cartilage was ripped.
That's hard to even listen to.
He also died as a result of repeated restrictions to his airways, causing severe brain damage.
Insane.
Just here.
Yeah, they got to be held accountable, these damn white supremacists, all of them collaborators as well.
Hearing those words and watching Robert Brooks' son listen to them was just something that anyone in the room won't forget. Now, in addition to the 6 officers who were charged with murder, 5 again arraigned today. Another will be arrested next week. Basically, there was a scheduling conflict with that 6-person accused of murder, but several other employees were charged with lesser crimes. My colleague, News Channel 9.
See, the other employees, such as the nurses and the people that, sat there twiddling their thumbs, was charged with lesser crimes. They all deserve to be held accountable. They all should get first-degree murder, if you ask me. They was complicit in it as well. You know what I mean? Because case in point, they'll take a brother, what I mean, say he's running from police in a car, and he got a passenger in there, and he ends up, hitting somebody, not meaning it, but in running from police, he'll get charged with murder, and also his passenger. So why are they not giving, and the passenger didn't have nothing to do with the driver, running. So why is it that, they're looking out for these nurses and the other employees? You know what I mean? It's the same case in point. They were there, you know what I mean? And they could say, well, they didn't have nothing to do with it, but the driver that was with that brother didn't have nothing to do with that brother running from police and accidentally hitting and killing somebody, but you charge them with murder. See, it's double standards in the so-called justice system between white people and black people. They frame narratives to fit whatever context they want them to fit them in to benefit the dominant white society.
My colleague, News Channel 9's Kendra Brodas, was also in the courtroom today. Kendra has more on the other charges that these other officers and employees are facing. Kendra?
That's right, Andrew. So those 5 we saw today and the other charged with murder, so 6 total, but there are other charges in play. There are 2 that are both charged with gang assault. 3 others all charged with manslaughter in the 2nd degree for essentially doing nothing to stop the beating. And 1 man charged solely with tampering physical evidence.
Yeah, because all it takes is somebody to say stop, you know what I mean, to stand on some damn business. You see something going on, who knows? You say stop, that could really get them people to stop. But, by you sitting there, and failing to speak up and use your voice to, stand on righteousness, what's true, right, and exact, you had a hand in causing this brother's demise as well. The nurses and the rest of them staff of this damn prison.
Fitzpatrick explaining that his office was tasked with attempting to assess the accountability of those involved, starting with Tier 1, being those who physically assaulted Brooks.
Those who were there in a position of authority and did absolutely nothing while Robert was being beaten. And finally, the third tier, those who were to a lesser extent aware of what was happening to Robert, or should have been aware of what was happening to him, and did nothing.
And News Channel 9's Andrew Donovan and I will have continuing coverage all night. But for now, in Utica, Kendra Brittis.
This reminds me of something else, family, that I talk about a lot on my channel. Society nowadays, it ain't breeding, people the same as like the 80s and the 90s when I came up and before generations. Society is now breeding, men in general to be, feminized and not stand on no business. You know what I mean? When you see something that's going on, you got a lot of guys that'll see, another brother getting beat down by, white supremacists and this, that, and the other. Like, and, we see it all the time. And the first thing that comes to mind to a lot of these, these men, so-called men nowadays, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's every young boy out there, but a lot of them, they don't stand on business. So instead of them, helping out their fellow brother or sister when they see them getting done unjustly, they pull out a damn phone. And that ain't never been my kind of time to pull out a damn phone. When you see some things, you just can't let some things go, because you got to get proactive, and at least try to diffuse it. Even if scared, do something, speak up, in some kind of regard. Don't just stand there, sitting on your hands, twiddling your thumbs, because in all actuality, you guilty in it as well. If you just sit there, see a brother or sister be harmed, by a race soldier. I couldn't just do that, because if I would sit there and see a brother or sister getting harmed by a race soldier, even though they was a cop, and I didn't, stand on business or at least address that cop and step to that cop like, nah, I ain't letting this go down on my watch. My head wouldn't feel right at night when it laid down on the pillow. My conscience would be kicking me in the ass, So instead of me having my conscience kick me in the ass, how I know how to do, if I don't get proactive, I'd rather just get proactive and stand on business. And they're not making, people a lot like that no more. Society is feminizing, brothers and men in general, you know what I mean? To punctify them and not have them stand on business, you know what I mean? You see it on social media all the time. Some of my videos get flagged for speaking the truth. If you can't speak the truth, and be your authentic self, that defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? You can't even speak the truth on social media no more without taking a hit to your account, getting blocked or banned, and that just ain't the way things are supposed to be. You got to be, able to be real. You know what I mean? And society got to stop, breeding these men to be keyboard gangsters and not be proactive. People don't. Kids don't even go out there and run around no more. You know what I mean? They're so fixated on being on a device, and this is all how society programs people to play docile and dormant. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, we used to run around, play tag, hide and seek. We used to do it all. We used to be out there in the community, ramping our bikes, building ramps, building forts, playing tag, squirt gun battles, super soakers. And kids nowadays, they just ain't running around like that, because society ain't breeding them to do that. Society is breeding them to stay, to themselves, and this is why a lot of these guys, they have even some sisters too, women too, not just sisters, but women in general, guys in general. This is why a lot of people nowadays, they have problems communicating to the opposite sex even. Guys have a lot of problems even stepping to a woman, because society breeds people to not have no social interaction no more. So they don't know how to interact with, people of the opposite sex, hold a conversation with people, and articulate themselves, without being on a computer, texting, and this all goes back into how society is trying to have people in general, lay docile and dormant, because if you lay docile and dormant, society then will begin to dictate your moves and things like that. You know what I mean? Just something I wanted to, add in there, family. But moving right along. Let me get a swig of water. And if you're new to my channel, family, make sure you like and subscribe. I drop new content daily. You know what I mean? What else did I want to touch on? I think I got. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, family. They accusing TD Jakes of sexual assault. You know what I mean? But he's filing a counter lawsuit, I guess, for defamation. I guess it was two brothers by the name of Dane Youngblood and Richard Youngblood. They accused TD Jakes of one said the Richard said the brother Richard said, to my knowledge, that TD Jakes assaulted him. He worked for TD Jakes. He was the armor bearer, which means he, drove TD Jakes around, and took him to different, like meet and greet places, and took him to his business and affairs. And he said that he shared a hotel room with TD Jakes in the late 80s, and TD Jakes hopped into bed with him and tried to kiss him. You know what I mean? But keep in mind, family, that this stuff happened like 40 years ago, and these guys are just coming out now, saying that TD Jakes done this to him. And the guy, and their brothers too, and the guy, Dane Youngblood, said he experienced multiple sexual abuse, from TD Jakes. He said he first met TD Jakes when he was 9 years old during a visit to Pittsburgh, PA. And then he said later on, in life, he lodged with TD Jakes. They were at a lodge and they shared like a emotional moment. And TD Jakes basically leaned in, to kiss him, tried to kiss him or something of that nature. You know what I mean? And it just don't sound right to me, family, because a lot of the times we've seen this like in the case with our brother Bill Cosby. Why are these people coming out 20, 30, 40 years, even 50 years after the fact and alleging, to have some kind of sexual assault done to them? You know what I mean? And I'm not meaning to sound insensitive, but it just don't sound right, because in all actuality, if something happened to you at that time, why didn't you address it at that time? It makes it makes the situation just look, not truthful and trustworthy, that you waited so long and sat on it. Make it look like a money grab, truth be told. And I'm not no TD Jakes fan either. You know what I mean? I could care less about TD Jakes, but I'm just saying I hate to see, brothers and sisters get tore down like this, and these are two brothers, black men that's accusing TD Jakes of this, And my thing on it is, you can't force no grown ass adult man to do nothing they don't want to do. And why come out 20, 30 years after the fact? So it makes it look like you being disingenuous in all actuality. You know what I mean? But TD Jakes filed something counter to what they got going on, saying that, they, defaming his character, and this is a smear campaign, things like that, to assassinate his character. You know what I mean? And I think it's a money grab in all actuality. Now, this what I forgot to add was this guy Dawson Youngblood, TD Jakes filed something on him in PA court, Pennsylvania court, on November 25th, and Jakes said that the guy Dane Youngblood, he was convicted of corruption of a minor back in 2008. So he got for sexual abuse of a minor. So, if you got that kind of charge on your jacket, all what you saying goes out the window. You ain't even credible, in my opinion. So, we got to examine people's credibility when things like this are brought to the light. And we see the same thing like this play out with our brother Bill Cosby. Why come out so many years after the fact? It just makes it look to me like not to be inconsiderate or, of the situation at hand, but it just makes it seem like people are being disingenuous when you sit on things 20, 30, 40, 50 years after the fact. You know what I mean? It makes it look like a complete money grab. And I'm not no TD Jakes fan. I just hate to see brothers and sisters be railroaded. You know what I mean? And, because when they defame your character in such a way, saying sexual assault and things like that, certain people, never bounce back from that. That could ruin your whole career. You know what I mean? Having something like that on your jacket. So, yeah, but TD Jakes ain't laying down. He's taking it. He's fighting back. He filed something counter for defamation and things like that. So we just have to see where this thing goes. You know what I mean? Because he's saying it's a smear campaign against him. And I believe it's a money grab. You know what I mean? Because I say that all the time. You know what I mean? I thought it was a money grab with Diddy, because people coming out saying that he did this, that, and the third. You know what I mean? My thing on it is you can't force no grown ass adult man to do nothing they don't want to do. You might tell them, they ain't going to work in Hollywood. They ain't going to get a bag, this, that, or the third. But you can't force nobody to do nothing they don't want to do. You know what I mean? They ain't put no gun to your head and, make you do it. You know what I mean? And I don't believe TD Jakes really done this. It don't sound genuine to me. It just sounds like a money grab. And I just wanted to bring it to the light, to talk to the family about it. I ain't planning on being on here too long. So what's the family, getting into the rest of this weekend? Like I said, I'm probably just going to head to the gym and put this battery in my car. You know what I mean? Just wanted to tap in with the family. If you are new to my page, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know who you are, where you tapping in from, what state you in. You know what I mean? Because I like to know the states that tap into me. You know what I mean? I look at my analytics of people that watch me and stuff. So, yeah, I like to know that. So, I guess nobody want to, let me know where they from. So, yeah, I'm getting ready to get off of here, family. Y'all have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend. And remember to be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. All right, family. Peace.